Right, well, this is my take on Mac's multiple desktops. If you do a three-finger swipe up the trackpad, you end up with your multiple desktops at the top. I've got 6 open here. You can open another one by clicking on the little cross in the top right-hand corner. So I've got my 6 desktops open, and if I slide across to the right, I get desktop number 2 and desktop number 3. But they're all the same desktop, and I wanted separate spaces I could have different bits of my clutter in, so keep them off my main desktop. So I did something slightly differently to normal, perhaps, so that when this is my first desktop, my main desktop, and my second desktop is now my workshop desktop, which is all my workshopy files in it, and my third desktop is image files, and my fourth desktop is Mac and Windows and CAD. Fifth desktop and sixth desktop are project on a looper I was working on. And there we go, and that's very nice and organized how I like it. And I did this by I'll show you now how I did it. This is folder's got an image inside it, and I'm going to take the folder and I'm going to push it up to the top left hand corner and spread the bottom right corner down so it fills the screen. I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to take away the toolbar, hide the toolbar so it fills the screen even more. Then I'm going to go down to show view options, go down to the bottom where it's talking about the background, and I'll click on picture, and I'm going to move my image down into there, and now this image fills the screen. So that becomes my desktop background, into which I can put all my files and folders for that particular desktop. I can drag things from one desktop to another, or I can just drag them into the folder and they will appear on that desktop. So that's how I've done it, and you can see on my main desktop I've got desktops 2 up here, desktop 3, desktop 4, desktop 5, desktop 6. So those are my folders full of the files and folders. I can click on one of those, like if we want to get desktop 2 back, I click on that and that opens on desktop 2, and desktop 3 opens on desktop 3, etc. I've got my main icons up the top I use quite a lot, eBay and the weather and Google and so forth, which I've also got on the first 3 desktops on the top of the screen just in case I need them. Also on the image desktop, because I want big icons so I can see where I am. They take up a lot of room. So what I did was made the picture much bigger height-wise, which means I can slide it up, and I actually have even more space to put my various bits and pieces, and I can make this as big as I want. All I have to do is use a big image that's tall and thin, and there's one folder at the bottom, or one file, that's a placeholder, and that keeps the bottom of my desktop at the bottom of the image, so to speak. There has to be one down there just holding it in position, and it works really well, and it keeps things where I want them. The only problem with it is if I have 2 things open like this, 2 images say, and then I click on the background, they'll disappear because the background folder will come to the front and they'll be behind it, which I first thought was going to be an absolute total pain and make the whole thing not worthwhile. I have to do 3 fingers up, get everything back again, then open the 2 different images and bring them back to the front, and it's a bit of a laborious process. Or I can click on preview in this case and get both of them up together. But in fact, I get so used to doing that, I got used to doing it very quickly, and the whole organizational thing is so much worth it that it doesn't really bother me that anymore. I can live with that because it's just generally so useful having all these different spaces. And that's about it. What else was I going to think about? Oh, what am I doing here? I'm sorry, I'm recording over the top of this. I can't remember what I was trying to show. Oh yes, here we go. If I have something like a Word file open or a duplicated Word file, I can move one across to the next desktop, and you can edit one and keep switching back to the other to see the original and compare it with the edits, and that's kind of handy. And you can do the same thing with Photoshop. If you have an image, you can, well, you need to have a duplicate of the image first by going to duplicate and open it up and make it the right size and separate it off, and then you can slide it to the next desktop. And again, you can do the same thing. You can switch between the two to compare your edited version with your old version. And the other things you can do, you can move the mixer window in Logic to the next desktop, so you've got that in a different space. And that's it for me, my multiple desktops.